All right, guys, let's get into this. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Master Your Mental podcast. Really looking forward to introducing you guys to my wonderful guest this week. Her name is Allison. Aya is someone I actually had the pleasure of connecting with through another friend and podcast guest named Nick Arapkiles. So, shout out, Nick, for introducing us and getting us connected here. Aya is a personal optimization coach who offers a variety of services such as one-on-one coaching, hypnosis, and microdosing Q&A sessions. I'm excited to have Aya here to share the benefits of microdosing, dive deeper into what it is and what it can do for our mental health. So without further ado, welcome Aya to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. So appreciate you having me on. There's nothing more that I love than, sharing tips on mental wellness, how to stay in that zone and all the new things that people may not know about. So thank
Yes,
you.
of course. And I'm so excited to have you here because, who else to dive deep into this topic with than you on this topic here. So I'd love if you can just kind of start us off here and just kind of get into what is microdosing and how did you get introduced to it?
Thank you. I honestly, it's a great question. And
Mhm.
there's so much debate around it, especially right now, because I have had so many conversations with people that are like, yeah, I've been microdosing, and it just feels so great. And, I just take a little nibble here and there. And so lots of people have no clue what a microdose is. And so it's great to be able to help define what it is.
Mhm.
And in studies and in data collecting and all of these different aspects of this, what's turned into a 10-year plus journey for myself personally, we found that a microdose is typically something that is recognized as subperceptive. So it's something that you don't actually feel. So when people are thinking, oh, I microdosed and it felt so great, I would just say that's probably more than a microdose. And
Mm.
so in terms of microdosing, we look at it as somewhere around 50 milligrams as opposed to a heroic dose, which is 5 milligrams. So it's a significant difference. And, one of the great things about microdosing is it absolutely does not disrupt your day. So in having so many of my coaching clients begin, a few years ago asking me, hey, what do you know about microdosing? And I had to start doing more and more and more research. And
Mhm.
so that was really what led me into this deep dive of where I am today and in such an exciting, honestly, field of mental wellness.
Yeah, no, that's so cool because I know we connected and we were actually talking a little bit about it. And you're actually the first person that I got connected with on this topic to, learn some more about it. Cause, I'm just all about like the solutions and the things out there that, we might not know about. And this is definitely one of those topics, people might, have heard about it, like the heard microdosing or the name, and they're kind of like, oh, like, what is it? And they're trying to like Google it and look it up and watch some videos. But you're someone who's done, extensive research on this. And I'd love to ask you, because I know you mentioned earlier, like people talking about, oh, like I've been microdosing, and it's really not because they might have been different dosage or whatever it's going on with that. So I'd love you to kind of, just get into, walk us through like what are some of those therapeutic benefits to microdosing. Love to learn more about that.
So I'm so grateful that I'm the person who, kind of brought microdosing into your scope of awareness and to help people understand that this is a personal development tool like anything else. So I really see it as that. And that when I'm doing education, when I'm doing lectures, when I'm doing podcasts, I really want people to be able to remove that stigma of, psychedelic, because nothing, microdosing is not psychedelic. Microdosing is like CBD
Mhm.
versus THC. So
Okay.
what we're looking at are it's non psychedelic and typically subperceptive effects. And what's really beautiful about microdosing is when you do an actual protocol,
Mhm.
and that means taking a particular amount in a very particular, let's say every other day type of
Mhm.
protocol, right? And being very intentional about it, you
Oh, okay.
notice these cognitive shifts. And many times, what we found in this research is the people around you begin to notice differences in your behavior.
Wow.
So fascinating when other people are beginning to notice the shifts for you. And then it sort of, dawns on you like, oh, that's right. I don't get so bothered about that thing anymore. Because with microdosing, it's really dusting off those very authentic parts of yourself that
Mhm.
maybe did get buried under a ton of stress and anxiety. It's allowing you to regenerate those neural pathways that are an absolute natural part of you. So to be clear, it isn't like microdosing is introducing something that you didn't have. It's
Mm.
allowing you to be even more of your authentic self.
I love that. And, just anything that's a tool that can bring that out, because especially when you bring up noticing these shifts, right? Of people around you noticing, typically, how you are, or how you can be, having a lot of anxiety that you're dealing with, or stress or overwhelm, or all these challenges, and then noticing slowly that shifting away and you're not having those as much of those experiences. So, I mean, that's exactly what, we're all trying to aim for. We're all trying to shoot for. And I'd love to ask you, in your own personal experience with this, like, I'd love to ask, kind of like, just like get a little bit more on the background for you of like what things have you tried in the past, like before you got, before you like learn about microdosing or got introduced, like, have you tried different things in the past to help you? And like, what did that look like?
Sure. So, just to be clear,
Mhm.
I struggled with anxiety, depression, more depression than anything else. To me, with my background and lots of PTSD in my background, I just was so accustomed to heightened levels of
Mhm.
anxiety and trauma that I just normalized it. So, I spent a lot of my life being very, detached and,
Mhm.
and living in this just sort of floating outside of my body to the point where there were some incidents that happened that just kind of woke me up to some of the things that were going on. But then I would go through these cycles where dealing with suicidal ideation and just having no purpose in life.
Mhm.
But somewhere in my subconscious, knowing that there was a purpose and there was something that I needed to do. And in 2012, I was actually introduced to ayahuasca. And
Mhm.
ayahuasca, for people who don't know, is a very powerful plant medicine, and it's typically, something that comes out of Brazil, that comes out of the rainforest. People may know it from like Peru, but interestingly, this was actually introduced to me in Chicago, where I was living at the time. So I can tell you that the spirit travels wherever it may be. And
Mhm.
so having this one ceremony completely changed my life. And I'm not saying it just solved all of my problems, but it did such a significant reset, especially for my gut health, which
Mhm.
is really dictating your mental health, right? Your second
Mhm.
brain. Such a reset that I was able to move through this cloud, this fog, this detachment, and really begin to pursue more deeper understanding of other methodologies that could help me, whether it's acupuncture, hypnosis, Reiki, more
Mhm.
energetic work, all of these different things. And it really began to open up this sort of, energetic awakening and begin to understand how these traumas of the past were keeping me completely inhibited in my growth.
No, that's just amazing to hear that, because it's almost been a decade, that you got introduced and you did that retreat, because that's something that, I've been hearing a lot about, just again, not knowing too much about it myself, but ayahuasca and the retreats and just everyone I've spoken to about it has shared just similar to you, like having this a moment of almost like an awareness gained back, because like you said, for so long, struggling with anxiety and depression and in suicidal ideation and all of this stuff, and then normalizing it and just not knowing life outside of those experiences. And I relate a lot to that and resonate. So I love just hearing that and just seeing how you got that one ceremony and that opened up the door for you to come into these other avenues of work, right? Like you talk about hypnosis and Reiki and learning about other solutions that are out there, because that's the thing, you guys, when we really are able to, learn more about these things and, dive deeper into what this is, because there's a lot of things out there, that we maybe tried in the past, like, maybe different medications that people have been on, or different, gone through different therapists, or, maybe you've been hospitalized or gone through different clinics or things like that, and that have not been successful. But there's always something out there that we have no idea about, or like we don't even know it exists. We don't even know what it is. And then we stumble across it one day, like you did, and have the ability to tap deeper into that and learn more about it. So I love that. And that's just one of the things that makes me so happy, is these solutions that are out there that we discover and that really help us unlock the keys to moving past these obstacles that we feel like we're like, there's no way I could ever do this at all. And you did it. And you're literally living proof of that. So, I'd love to ask you too, this brings me to, another question that I have is, when we talk about, microdosing, I'd love to hear from you, like who would you think, like, if we're going to talk about like an avatar, right? Or, someone you could consider, what differentiates someone who you would say is like an ideal candidate to try this out, or someone who you probably would not recommend this to?
Well, first, I want to say, look, one of the ways that people find out is because of you and the work that you're doing, and the people like you who are willing to have the courage to share their story and have these conversations. And the way the knowledge spreads is with these conversations. So we're taking the shame away from that. We're allowing people to share their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And in that sharing and in that vulnerability, we're able to take the stigma away from what nature is trying to give us. Like, nature has always had these remedies for us. And at the end of the day, nature is just wanting us to be more of our natural selves, which is calm and happy and aligned and powerful. So, I would just say to people that are listening and watching who have a preconceived notion about what it means to take a drug, right? Like microdosing or mushrooms, I would really encourage you to just soften your mind and soften those beliefs, because this is how things change. You change by allowing yourself to just soften and to hold some space for yourself to be open to these new ideas. And in terms of who's an ideal candidate, I will just say, look, microdosing is not for everybody. And what's really fantastic and hilarious about where I am with all of this is that I can't microdose. I cannot actually microdose mushrooms. And the reason is that when I was 29, I actually was bitten by a super poisonous millipede that did major damage to my digestive system and also to my liver. And so it really wrecked my ability to break down many of the very helpful alkaloids that are in mushrooms. And so mushrooms for me at the smallest level, including at a microdose level, actually cause serious depression very quickly. So just to be clear, I do not advocate microdosing for everybody. Now, I am a rare part of the spectrum. Like, this is very, very rare. And in thousands of stories that we collected in terms of the data, I've honestly only talked to maybe 3-4 other people who have ever had anything, and no one has had this as significantly as I have. Now, just to be fair, thousands of people may be a very small part of, a population, but generally, for most people, microdosing tends to be extremely helpful for all kinds of things. So if you are a person dealing with depression and anxiety, what it does is it begins to rewire those limiting beliefs that you're stuck and that you can't, and that I'll always be here, and that there's no hope for me, there's no solution. So depression and anxiety is people who have depression and anxiety with microdosing, super beneficial. For people that are wanting to, stop feeling like they've been hijacked by a bunch of pharmaceuticals, that's their only option, or that they can't get off of them. I can't tell you how many stories I have heard from people that are like, my psychiatrist will not let me get off of these meds, like
Mhm.
wants me to stay medicated even when I don't want to. And
Mhm.
they've decided they're looking for their own solutions, and they've heard that microdosing could help. Now, this is not medical advice in any way, shape, or form, just sharing, what we've seen, and have had very successful transitions, from one to the other. And again, with microdosing, typically it's a 3-month protocol. So after that, you could never take it again. It is not addictive. You do not need to stay on it.
Mhm.
Microdosing is great for creatives, for people who want to easily access creative states, flow states, creative problem solving. It's ideal for people that are just wanting deeper connections with themselves, with others, to get out of these sort of superficial zones where, we get afraid to be vulnerable, and to really be able to easily go into these very beautiful and expressive parts of ourselves.
Mhm.
For people that, I have loads of parents who microdose, who, are like, can I do this and still be functional with my kids? It's like,
Mhm.
yes, you can. So there's just lots of different options when it comes to who those people are.
Mhm.
And I'll just say, if you feel a calling, then I would say, there's something within you that may be asking, for this type of protocol.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate, you just breaking that down, because that's amazing, because like you said, you have I think what a really cool difference here that you just pointed out is, compared to, traditional medication and pharmaceuticals, right? Like there's really no end point in time to when you should ever, stop medications and different things. And, of course, that's not to say that everyone, should just, go off all your meds, guys. Like just take them all, go off your meds and just do the microdosing thing and just go for that. That's not to say that, but I think that's a really good point that you illustrated, with microdosing is it's, you mentioned a 3-month increment. It's not meant for you, to do this, for like years and years and years and years and years. And especially, the benefits that you've seen for depression and anxiety. And a key to that is what you mentioned, is rewiring those limiting beliefs, because we all have them, you guys. And, and that's the thing, is no matter how much work you do, and, we can continue this work and continue learning and growing, we're still going to have that. And it's going to be a daily thing, always pouring into yourself and just continuing to do it. And this is, again, another solution, another avenue to Venture Town, if you're curious. And, definitely Aya is for sure the person to connect with for this information. And again, that brings me back to just, wanting to learn, more. If you can give us, maybe like one highlight or key moment from your personal experience so far, because I know you mentioned for microdosing due to, that I've never, that the millipede thing, you can't do it, but I'd love to hear if you've ever done it at all, ever. Or have you ever done some?
So before the bite,
Yeah.
I was able to take mushrooms, no problem.
Okay. Okay.
Was I microdosing? I wasn't microdosing back then.
Okay.
But I have, what's pretty fascinating about this is, though, even though mushrooms and microdosing are not my particular experience, I can say I know how well it works because the thousands of people that I have heard their stories, I
Yeah.
don't have a personal filter saying like, oh, I know it
Mhm.
works because I've done it, so it works.
Mhm.
So there's something about that I cherish, and I have so much gratitude for, that literally I cannot do this.
Mhm.
However, I have heard, I mean, just these incredible stories of transformation shared with me. I have been fortunate enough to be able to microdose ayahuasca, which is, something that at times is super helpful. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I'll just say, with nature, there is a natural beginning and end.
Mhm.
And when you are being put into a system that has no specific end
Mhm.
of its medicating, there's something to, really, there's questions to raise about that, because the body always wants to be in homeostasis,
Mhm.
natural balance. The
Mhm.
body is always looking for that. So
Yeah.
you can know that with these types of natural medicines, natural tools, there's a natural beginning and end. So it's not
Yeah.
something that you stay on forever, because you will know, like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Maybe you want to come back to it at some point, but you may never come back to it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's such a great point that you brought up and raised earlier, and I love that you bring that up, and also like all the other benefits that you mentioned, that just seeing from, your personal experience for this benefit for depression, anxiety, because I love, anything out there that could potentially be a solution for someone is amazing for me. And that brings me to, this is a question I always ask everybody. I always ask everyone this question because I always get a different answer, and it's always such a great answer. And I'm always writing things down because it's amazing. So, Aya, of course, I have to ask you, what are you currently doing right now in this moment to master your mental?
What I am doing right now to master my mental is I am actually doing hypnosis for
Mm,
myself. And I have very specific financial goals for this year. So I am doing this millionaire mindset, and it's a series of 5 hypnosis sessions
mhm.
that are just phenomenal. I mean, I love hypnosis so much, and it works so well. So I would say that's like my key tool right now. Another thing that I'm loving is, like, I love having a morning and evening routine,
Mhm.
but my specific boost right now is with hypnosis. So it
Oh
is
my gosh.
super helpful. And just a shout out, I do offer hypnosis for clients. So if anyone is looking to just level up, it is actually super
Yes,
helpful.
that is amazing. And I love that you bring that up. And also, too, the morning and evening routine, so amazing. And just, everything, I just want to say this, honestly, just thank you so much for, setting aside the time to come out here and, speak with us about this topic, because this, again, is such an important thing that, not too many people, know a lot about or know too much about. And of course, hearing from you, someone who has, extensive experience and done extensive research in this area is amazing, because you really can speak to the benefits that you've seen. And I think it's just beautiful to, have someone who can come out and just speak on this. So I thank you so much for being out here and just, sharing a little bit about your personal experiences, your personal story, and the awesome work that you're doing. I love it. And I am very proud to know you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on as a guest. Thank you so much for giving me the space to speak. I'm here to educate. I'm here to listen. If people want to reach out to me, they can do that. My website is thewellgroundedspirit.com. They could send me an email, thewellgroundedspirit@gmail.com. We have events upcoming in the Phoenix area. So it's just so grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then also Instagram, the Well Grounded Spirit as well. So definitely connect with her there as well, you guys. And on that note, I want to thank all of you guys for being here and being so dedicated and listening and just soaking in all this awesome information. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are. So I'm going to end it on that note and say bye to you guys and bye to Aya. So bye, Aya.
Bye.